scatting. Can you scat?
Welcome, everybody.
How's it going,
In today's, we don't know what to call this yet, but sure, it's going to be cool later on when we figure out a name. Maybe we'll have us, on the actual YouTube channel now, so you know what the podcast name is. The future people will know.
This is just basically like ground zero of organic creativity and growth. So honestly, it's a sight to behold, and I'm grateful to be here, be part of it.
It's going to be fantastic. So, basically, I'm Nerdragefred. I stream on Twitch, and this is my co-host.
I'm Swordmouse. I've been on Twitch since 2015, and I thought we might do some. What are we doing today, Fred? We're doing some overall game. Oh God, I messed this up already. We're doing some sort of game highlights, spotlights, upcoming releases, and whatnot. Kind of just generally talking back and forth, probably asking each other occasionally very embarrassing questions.
Yes, so the general idea of it is that we're going to talk about what happened maybe in the previous month, or in the current week, what's been released, what's going to come out. Basically stuff like that, because we both like video games and we're very lonely in the evening, so, it's a pretty cool thing to just do.
Yeah, honestly, I think if nothing else, if this channel fails, then at least we would have found each other, and I think that's the important thing.
That's all that matters. That, or drifted further apart, like a bickering old couple, which is a form of not being lonely. So I'm down with that.
There's nothing like a good enemy to sort of motivate you to sort of up your game as well.
I just noticed you're way more saturated than me, but it's probably cool. You're probably more animated as well. Like, I'm dead inside, so that's probably cool.
I assumed it was my complexion, because like we both probably don't see much sun, but
yeah, that's true. So yeah, we actually started this podcast just because we both want to do a podcast, and we both, well, I speak for myself anyway, I really like hearing myself talk, so I thought it was like, perfect.
Natural extension. Have you ever done a podcast, by the way? Because for myself, never done one, and I was kind of realizing this early day. I was really looking forward to it, really excited about doing it today, even though it's sort of not too much different, like on the whole compared to streaming. But having such a lengthy streaming background and realizing podcast was entirely different beast was it's a bit of realization.
Yeah, I have been a guest on podcasts, but not much else than that. But it's more or less like somebody else controlling the narrative and the interview and everything like that, and I'm just sitting there answering stuff.
Just hoping there wouldn't be any extremely awkward long silences.
Yeah. Exactly like that. But yeah. Then I approached Swordmouse, and it's like, man, there's a few people I want to do a podcast more with, because I actually don't know how I met you, honestly, anymore. I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, I'm sure it was somebody who I like bumped into, and then I bumped into you after that. But we've known each other or known about each other at least for a very long time. I'm fairly sure.
It feels like longer, honestly. Ages. And I think that's very in keeping with the Twitch experience, as well as these people. You'd like to think fairly well. Like, you don't know what they do when the camera's off, but you think you have an idea of who they are, but nobody ever really seems to remember exactly how they met. And I've known people on Twitch for 4 or 5 years. Actually, there's a good recent case of this, and come to find out that we thought we met like 2-3 months ago, but we're both following each other, and it's been like 5 years, and it's just like I don't know what to think of situations like that.
Maybe it was via Civ that I met you. It was before you were doing Battlefield 2, I think, because you were doing a lot of Battlefront 2 back in release days.
Yeah.
I knew you before that anyway.
Must have. Maybe we played the same game at some point.
Probably Skyrim or something.
Yeah, it could have been Skyrim. Because you like you sort of gravitate towards, I think, safe to say, strategic type games. You dabble in a lot of genres, but
Yeah. It's my channel that I have on Twitch. It's mainly strategy games, but you do mostly variety, right?
Yeah, a little bit everything, honestly. I used to mostly do shooters. That's how we kind of got the channel started, and that's where we were doing really well and got partnered with Battlefield. It's kind of a theme, honestly, but huge like indie fan, everything from RPGs and tactics games. So kind of chaotically sporadic in that regard, just everywhere.
Yeah, I see myself as like a Total War dude. I play a lot of Total War games. But last year I had apparently streamed about 150 different games. So I mean, I do a little bit of everything.
Wow.
And that's why I wanted to make a podcast talking about games. Because we both change games quite often. And I thought Swordmouse, he's gonna know about games. Then, after we talk for like the first time, he has to Google them, same as me. So, I mean, that's what it is.
It's a really humbling experience because it makes you realize how many games you miss and how little you actually know what's going on the gaming scene, despite considering yourself to be a really passionate gamer that has, you wear many hats, right? But it's honestly kind of a shock. Like the games that we've even from the list we've collected this month. Like there's a few that came out a year or two ago. And I'm like, wow, I really want to stream these now. Like, these look really good.
That's the problem also with streaming. Sometimes there's like they die out for streaming, so you can't stream them anymore.
It's such a shame. Yeah.
So you're like, wow, this I really want to stream, and then it didn't go well. But the worst one I think for streaming is when you stream it. You really like it, but nobody watched you stream it, so you can't continue streaming it. You have to like switch games because obviously it's not all about the money. But I mean, like we both do this full time, so you kind of have to think a little bit about if people actually are gonna watch, because otherwise you can just play it when nobody's watching, and those games you start like. I personally I get a grudge against them almost. I was like, man, that game ruined my Tuesday or something, and I'll just have it installed because I want to play it, but then that feeling just comes over you.
It's that low grade resentment from like not being able to play it on stream and desperately wanting to enjoy it as a gamer, but you need to consider your community and your viewer base as well with what you stream, and just never ending adding games to your pile of someday, which just kind of mocks you from a distance.
Yeah. It's I don't know, do you get those games as well?
Oh god, yes. I have a group in my Steam library, just its own category of games I've added, which it's called the Someday pile. Sweet ass Someday specifically. And it never stops. It's just always growing.
That's nice. I would probably name mine like Shame Pile or something. I'm fairly sure.
If you ever want to, I mean, it's something we could even do on the podcast potentially. Is we can just compare favorite games or games we thought we thought looked good, but we can't actually stream, and we could just kind of share the misery.
Maybe. It's man, I get so upset when I think about some of those games where it's like, yeah, I really like this one. I think it was like I was playing a lot of Xenoverse. Do you know what that is? Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, man, this is gonna be great. I know this game and I can stream it and stuff. And the new one came out and I got a key for it. Then I was like, I think I had like 10% of my normal viewership for the first 3 hours. And I was just like, saw like my viewers counts after 3 hours because I don't check it often. And then I was like, well, now I'm completely dead inside. I just felt that little hope being extinguished. I was like, well, so I'm playing something else for the rest of the day.
Very, very relatable emotion.
Yeah.
Do you find any particular genres to be particularly brutal as a content creator from that perspective?
Yeah, anime games.
Oh yeah, okay.
Some of them are so on rails, and there's so much dialogue that you just like sit there and you watch a movie for 45 minutes with like a 15 minutes of gameplay sprinkled around everywhere. But then in the end of that 1 hour, you succumb to some form of weird Stockholm syndrome. So you just kind of want to see where the story goes, but really you're the only one who cares at this point after the hour.
Yeah, I could totally see those types of games sort of definitely having a really passionate fan base, but it's not really the type of thing that you would just happen upon and then sort of fall into it, I imagine. Like you kind of have to look for it in order to not be completely taken aback. Find
Yeah,
yourself
it's
asking
not
what this
something
is.
you know, just browse on Twitch and it's like, oh, this main category, anime games, fantastic.
Right.
No.
Trying to convince people that it's an amazing game is probably equally as difficult as well. Yeah.
So, what were your initial thoughts to making a podcast? We might as well get this out of the way. Somebody's probably going to ask at some point, or we might think like maybe somebody cares, even if they don't. So, I'm not saying I'm asking you just because, but
Why I accepted your offer to do a podcast?
Yeah, that and why Sky Big?
Why Skybig?
Why Sky Big?
Oh, why did we choose that name for the podcast?
Oh no, I don't even think about that one. It's a meme that I've been saying, like asking people all the time. It's it takes most people back. It's like, what do you mean? Why the sky is big? Why do you?
That's funny because I used to the part of Montana I used to live in was actually called Big Sky Country. That's kind of a little bit of serendipity there.
But, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'm a wizard.
Could, yeah, or just fate. Cue the soppy romantic music.
Could be.
Just leave it kind of awkwardly blank for a few seconds so we could fill that in later post production. Beautiful, perfect. But yeah, it's actually always something I've kind of wanted to attempt. As a content creator, it's sort of drilled into you that you're supposed to tackle as many forms of content creation as you possibly can in order to like stand out and kind of get your content out there so people can actually find you. But it's just, I don't know, it's something that's always kind of resonated with me even before I even attempted content creation. Just the like the old-timey radio shows, which you don't really hear anymore. And I don't know, there's just something really really kind of like relaxing and satisfying about any sort of talk show, assuming like the topic is of any interest at all. So Fred here, when he asked if I'd want to do a podcast, I was super flattered because I didn't even think he liked me, honestly. And yeah,
it's my resting bitch face. That's why nobody thinks I like them. My wife has to ask me every day.
Did she ask you if like you're still okay with being married?
But yeah,
but
grown quite fond of you over the last decade, I usually say.
I hope to hear those same words at some point.
One day.
One day.
They can ask me nervously. So,
after doing an inordinate amount of chores that are podcast related.
Yeah.
And what about you? What made you decide, you know what? Even though I'm married, I have a kiddo, and I stream full time, you know what? I'm not busy enough on a daily basis. I have too much free time, and I want to start a podcast.
Yeah, like work keeps the despair away. As long as you run ahead of it, it can never catch you. That's how I think. That and I was really sick last year. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. But now I'm kind of well again. So now I'm like, yep, I have time for that. Now I can do that. What am I gonna do? I sit by the PC and do nothing? Like, I mean, next year is gonna come no matter what I do, regardless. So might as well try the podcast as well. I mean, I'm at that age. Either I start complaining about golf or I start a podcast. So
sort of a midlife crisis sort of situation, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, as content creators, neither of us can afford the convertible, which is usually the go-to.
Yeah, that or golf.
Yeah. Oh God, way too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, like podcast. That's where it's at then.
Yeah, never leave the house, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't even need to see scary people or anything. Perfect.
The cursed Daystar. Yeah.
All right. Let's. Should we maybe dive into the games as well?
Sure, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to this list.
So we have a little bit of curated list. Maybe you've seen the tabs here. The first thought was to have like the trailers just going in the background constantly. But this is the first podcast. This is the first episode that we're taping. And I didn't have time to do this. Basically, it takes a really long time. And then you have to like sort it through. And there's a lot of editing maybe. So I just want to make it simple because if there's something I know about habits, It's that you have to make it really easy for you to continue doing it. If you don't, then it's gonna be you're gonna find excuses. So that's why I generated it like this. So you can see the tabs all the way over there, and we're gonna go through them in somewhat of that order. Let's get started. First one, an airport for aliens, currently run by dogs, and it's adventure game in first person essentially. You're the one who first suggested and first saw us, so you want to kick this one off, perhaps?
Absolutely. First, I just want to say how perfect of a game this is to be like the very first game to be mentioned on the very first podcast, just through its sheer ridiculousness. As you can see, it has beautiful stock photos of puppy dogs. It seems to have done okay. Not have made too much of a splash. This is a bit of a niche genre, I'd imagine, and that is to say, it doesn't really have a genre because I believe, if I understand it correctly, having not played it myself, which is a tragedy in itself, you are a human stranded on a planet run by dogs, and you're trying to make connecting flights to, I think, reach your significant other. And from what I've seen, it pretty much does exactly what it says on the tin, and it actually seemed to have some decent humor in it as well, all things considered. So it just seems so wacky that I'm kind of drawn to it. I don't know if you've ever reached that stage of gaming where you're just kind of like the state of a game being different is like an innate plus, but this is just so different that I had to take notice.
Yeah, I mean, like you just guess sometimes those really weird games, and it's just something you wanna experience, basically. I know like Hatful Boyfriends is something that would strike me in the same category, which is like, just weird stuff that is cool or fun. Do a bunch of really weird niche jokes that's, one of those you had to be there kind of games.
Exactly. Have you played Hatful Boyfriend, by the way?
Hatful?
Yeah.
No, I forced a streamer friend to play it once and hung out with there for like the entire stream instead. And as anyone who has ever watched a Twitch stream, that's like playing it yourself. Anyone can attest. That's why there's so many experts as like, Dark Souls and Sekiro and stuff like that.
That explains it. I was actually curious why there were just so many people that knew what I was supposed to do so much better than I was currently attempting it. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Checks out.
I mean, like, I want to kind of try this one because it has still 93 positive reviews. And it's only out of 49, so obviously it's like very very
I can see how this game might not speak to everyone, if only because not everybody's a dog person, right? That's let's be honest, it's the main thing holding this game back from exploding onto the world stage.
Are there really people out there though that don't like dogs? I guess there's people who like are scared of dogs, they're allergic to dogs, but I don't really see a lot of people who are like, yeah, you know what, I hate dogs.
Yeah, I think for the most part they're too ashamed to announce their presence, which I think is probably a good thing, because let's just be honest, fur babies are precious, and I mean, how can you not love these dogs either?
Yeah, I mean, like cats are socially acceptable to hate. I have cats myself. I know that everybody's just like, cats are useless. They can't protect you when your family's in danger. And it's like, what? Why would I want a cat to protect myself with? What am I, Joe Exotic? Jesus.
I think the primary purpose of a cat, if you had to assign a purpose in this situation, is not that it protects you from burglars, but it keeps you in a sort of constant state of alertness and low grade dread by having a little bladed-handed ninja constantly stalking your home. So in that sense, it keeps you prepared for any sort of burglaries on your own accounts.
I used to keep mine to keep me calm. Well, I mean, like, I've always had cats, so I just have cats because I always had cats. Yeah. Basically the same way why I, celebrate Christmas. But, you're kind of stressed some days. Sometimes everything isn't perfect. And you just go and see a cat sleeping somewhere and you're just like, he's got to figure it out.
Could learn
like
from him.
he's living in the now. Doesn't worry about what's happening tomorrow. Doesn't worry about what happened before. It's content in the now. You gotta live in the now.
They genuinely seem to have their existence nailed down, don't they? Like we feed them, we clean up their litter boxes. They sleep a lot. They can get away with virtually anything. Honestly, take notes.
Yeah. But this game, I mean, like, I might try it in the future. We'll have to see, honestly. Are you gonna try it?
I think I might have to. This is probably going to fall into the category of games we were talking about earlier, where it's probably not in a position on Twitch to really do a content creator any favors. But maybe from like a YouTube standpoint, the reverse would be true, and this would be great YouTube content, or even just to play in your own time. But absolutely, like you just have to experience this, right? How can you not?
I usually do Weird Wednesdays, and then I do all manner of really like the weirdest shit you've seen, basically. And I know that this game, this is really weird. So either it's going to do really well or nobody's going to care. But I think it might actually do really well because it's one of those things where when things are too weird, they don't do too well on Weird Wednesdays. But this one might.
Anime, right?
Yeah, most of the anime stuff. Yeah. I don't know if it's like too much maybe for most people to hear like the behind the scenes kind of things. Like, yeah, I wouldn't stream this because nobody would watch. But I think this one maybe we'll have to see. I'll probably stream it anyway. I have a very poor business sense, so.
I mean, at a certain point, you just have to occasionally give in and kind of do things for yourself, right?
Yeah. So let's move on, shall we?
Feels good.
Oof, I actually had already gone down towards this one because here we have King of the Seas. I had actually forgotten I did that. That was actually not on purpose. So I'm sorry, 3D Clouds. But it's King of the Seas. So you had streamed this.
Yeah, I streamed it for I think a full cast last week. Have you played it at all?
No, I have not. Personally, this looks like one of those games that are. It almost feels like somebody wanted to create something that other people would enjoy, but didn't have passion for it.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah. Do you like pirate games in general, or is it kind of like neutral?
Yeah, some of them. Everybody likes good games, right? I'm just not particularly drawn to pirate games, but there are pirate games that I like. You know, like Sid Meier's Pirates, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It's that one is clearly a pirate game and not an Assassin's Creed game.
Right.
And the old Pirates of the Caribbean game.
Oh, did you play that? I loved it.
Yeah, it was honestly like some of the best wave effects that you could find in like before Sea of Thieves. Honestly, it was pretty cool.
Right. I would love to see a modern day game sort of take the reins.
I remember it was even back then. It was like very enjoyable, but incredibly janky, like incredibly so.
Brutal, even yeah.
Like
murdered.
Like it would crash. It would just run really poorly.
Yeah, it had. I think it had. Was it the Stardock anti-piracy software as well, which was, I think, in rare cases, causing people's CD drives to shatter the disks inside the computers, which sounded amazing.
Yeah, it was like 3D Glide or something like that. That was like messing it up as well, because that was always janky as all hell.
It was super, yeah.
Because I remember that in like Messiah. Used that one, I think, or some other game. I can't remember. It was exactly a 3D Glide or whatever. But that one and Messiah were like buggy as all hell. So I just remember that every game that I tried that had that would always just like either run really poorly, look really well, and just crash constantly.
Those were the days, right?
What did you think of this game?
I had a bit of fun with it, honestly. I found myself playing a little bit after the cast was done, which is usually a sign that I don't intensely hate the game. You touched on liking games like Sid Meier's Pirates, and I think it sort of takes inspiration, at least graphically, sort of this in the spirit of. It's definitely a bit on the lighter side in terms of like content and depth and things like that. Clearly made with console in mind. When I played it, there was no mouse supports, and the menus were very sensitive to a fault. But
Yeah,
I didn't really see myself. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, keyboard and mouse supports are currently limited, as it says right now as well.
Yeah, I was actually a bit surprised that it was to the extent that you couldn't even use the mouse to navigate the menus. But it's basically, if you're familiar with games like Sid Meier's Pirates, or I guess more specifically games like Tempest, or I think it was Windward. It basically takes like the sort of top-down ship mechanic you would find in a game like Age of Pirates, Caribbean Tales, or I think Sea Dogs, as it's known in certain areas of the world. So there's no like FPS pirate control where you directly say duel or fence, which is honestly a shame. I love those sort of boarding mechanics in pirate games where you're taking over ships and things. But
it's weird that they wouldn't have a mouse and keyboard though if they're gonna release it on PC.
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, at least I mean, hopefully they fix that soon. But it would have been nice to at least have managed the menus with a mouse. Obviously, some games are just better with controllers, but yeah, that was a bit of a note, something to note there. But I had fun with it. Not maybe the deepest game you'll experience in the genre. It was okay. It was all right. Nice for an evening of distraction at least.
So it has kind of mixed reviews, and I would probably imagine that either you like these kinds of games or you just don't. I know that sounds really silly, but there's a few games that I know that like, yeah, most people will like. Yes, that's usually a good sign of like a, this is a 6 out of 10 game. Four gamers won't like it, and the rest will probably enjoy it to some degree, depending on circumstances. If they got bitten by possums or something that day, or
Pirates.
Yeah,
Written by pirates. If you're obsessed with pirate games, you probably like King of Seas. But there are similar games in the genre, which makes King of Seas not seem like it's done too much differently, if that makes sense. Even arguably kind of redundant, not to be too harsh. But if you like these types of games, like it's basically does what it says on the tin in terms of just being able to control a pirate ship, get upgrades, sail around, sink some ships, and the procedural generation is kind of a nice addition too, because like all the islands and things are in slightly different places every time. But it was fun. It was fun for a day, like you said, sort of the 6 out of 10 sort of area, unless you're just a fanatic of the genre, in which case you probably like it.
Nice. Well, Team 17 is a good publisher most of the time. They always have like some game that's like all publishers have, I guess. But I like Team 17 in general. You do pretty cool stuff.
Likewise, they definitely don't seem afraid to pick up games which are just sort of different overall, and it's always nice to see a developer, a publisher rather, that sort of has that mindset of just like, well, this looks like a good game to back. Let's see what we can do with it. And for that reason alone, yeah, they usually come out with some fun games. Like what was it they released fairly recently?
Narita Boy.
Right.
That's a pretty cool game. Like 8-bit Nintendo man, like Game Boy man, basically, is running around. It was pretty cool. They lore dump a ton, but the gameplay was solid. Cool kind of Metroidvania style.
Nice. Yeah, the team reminds me a little bit. Team 17 reminds me a bit of, say, like Tiny Build, for example, because they're always backing any number of games that fall under various genres. And I think what was the Castaway type game that they released? I think like a year ago or so. That was really enjoyable. I thought it kind of got a bad rap on release as well.
Let's see here. They released a lot of stuff. The Unliving, I'm very excited for. Very.
Yeah, it's let you play like a necromancer, right? Kind of pixel.
Yeah,
pixely
exactly. What did they release? Oh, Hammerting. Hammerting is actually great as well, but that's not the one we're talking about. This is actually one of those games that I am 100% sure that a lot of people will be like, in 10 years, yeah, I played that, when I was 14 or whatever people are now. Whatever the young kids are. And they'd be like, yeah, I played that when I was young, and I love that game. It's gonna be like, yeah, I think this one people will really like that back then. What was the survival game?
Yeah, the survivalist. Actually, I think you might have passed. That's the one I was thinking of, at least, where you're basically a castaway on an island, and you're controlling monkeys, which can do any number of tasks for you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This one.
Yeah, it has almost vague sort of Don't Starve vibes, but it was kind of fun. I enjoyed it. It's a good little co-op game too.
Seems it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's probably like really good for the Switch and stuff if they have it on the Switch. I would doubt they wouldn't release something like this for the Switch.
Yeah, that'd be a missed opportunity. Honestly, I think they've done a pretty good job of it, adding content as well post release support. It has like randomized dungeons and things like that as well, which is kind of nice. And yeah, it's hard not to have fun in a game where you're basically like a cut rates imitation pirate, and you have to sort of sail between islands and discover things, and create monkey soup so you can tame a simian army for with which to craft tools and conquer the world.
That does sound pretty cool. Either way, I'm gonna see us as done with King of the Seas. King of Seas, not the Seas.
I'm glad you're not the only one having trouble with it, because throughout the entire cast, when I streamed it, I was constantly.
That's actually why sailors aren't that scared of COVID-19, because they're pretty used to the seas.
We'll just have to remove that post-edit.
No.
Okay.
No editing. I don't have time.
Well, in that case, you folks get what you get. Sorry, I tried.
And next one is a Mundown, a new horror game.
Yes,
which people seem to like.
This?
See, Tech Raptor, he likes this.
I don't know who that is.
I'm guessing it's either a magazine or news atlas, maybe.
The proper noun. Had you seen anything about this title? I'd only heard about it looking at our list prior to putting this podcast together.
I have not seen much about it. I do feel a little bit of mystery vibes from like Resident Evil 8, maybe. The Village, and just it seems like a cool game. I would doubt this is longer than a couple of hours, honestly. For 16, I mean, like, you don't deserve more anyway.
True. I think it's the is it the Switch? I think it's a console release coming out this month. I think it technically came out right March on PC, right? And
so
really good reviews as well.
Yeah,
which intrigues me.
Yeah, it's around 10 hours. I would imagine it was something like that. I'm sorry I said you weren't worth more. You're worth everything for those $16. You know who you are.
Good luck ever working with this developer/publisher, friend. This is honestly one of the fringe benefits of doing this podcast with you. I realized, sort of bringing games to my attention, which look really intriguing, and I might not have noticed otherwise, because this completely slipped under my radar.
Yeah, I've same. Maybe it's like Resident Evil: The Village and mixed with The Long Dark almost.
Yeah.
But instead of a bear, you fight somebody in a straw hat, and then your hand is on fire as well. So
I'm intrigued by the sort of the visual choice, the old-timey kind of camera perspective they're trying to give you here.
Yeah, the 50s, 60s kind of almost. Yeah, you know what? It's almost like Albert Hitchcock, but it's Alan Wake.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Horror movie vibes.
Together with everything is pencil drawn, so obviously it's not both, but I do get those vibes from both.
Mm-hmm. And it's different too. You have to appreciate the fact that it is hand drawn, like you said.
Yeah, people don't go on too many limbs for unique stuff anyway.
They
But
don't.
the early like 2000s was pretty cool for that. You got a lot of cool stuff like the first KOTOR, Mass Effects, Burnout 3, you know, things like that. Cool games that they just wanted to make.
Right. That's one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of indie titles, just because they tend to be the companies that take the chances and kind of follow their vision, or at least just aren't quite as afraid to try something a bit different.
Yeah, that's a very good point actually. I don't have much to add to this one, personally. Do you have any finishing touches that you finishing words that you want to touch on?
I'm only to say that I'm sort of intrigued. This is definitely one that I'll probably put in my someday pile and maybe grab it during a sale, or maybe during like an October Spook Fest on the stream. But yeah,
It's
looks intriguing.
looks definitely pretty cool. And now for Made of Scare. Oh. Oh
I'm sure
no,
we're
it
old
didn't
enough to be able-
accept me being over 100 years old. Wow.
Is that not an option anymore?
Well,
I
it
feel-
was, but something else. I just let it be there. Wales Interactive. So this is a horror game set with more of a Welsh horror folklore. Now, after reading up about this, I am pretty intrigued because Welsh horror folklore is pretty cool because they have bats with frogs with bat wings and no legs that are big.
Is this a creature that's native to the local mythology? I've never heard of these.
Mythology?
Just these frog bat creatures. Or do you mean
Oh
the
yeah,
game?
that makes sense. Those would be horrifying in real life to see.
It sounds disgusting.
Yep. No, I was kidding, but yeah, they have a lot of cool, unique stuff together with dragons and water ghosts and stuff like that. So this one looks really cool, actually. This looks, man, I just like the setting. You know, Welsh horror. That seems cool.
It does. It looks like it has a lot of potential. Really nice visuals as well. It just kind of meshes, for lack of a better term. Was this one that was on your radar at all? Or did you just kind of?
No, this wasn't on my radar at all.
Likewise, I feel better now. And this came out last year, I believe, like last fall, if I'm not mistaken.
Last fall?
I think.
Did it just have a Switch release or something?
I believe so, yeah. I think it's coming out on Switch.
I mean, 71% of the latest reviews like it, 81 overall. So that's not too bad, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, as a horror fan, I would definitely give it a peek. Seems like it's well received enough, and considering it's an indie company, I'm kind of surprised they managed to achieve like the graphical fidelity they did. It looks like a really pretty game.
What is this? It's like Unreal Engine 4. I can almost guess. Do you think it's Unity maybe? It's probably one of the normal engines, I would imagine. I'm actually a little bit intrigued here on what it could be.
Yeah, same. Another one for my someday / Halloween Fest pile for sure.
All right, my setup right now is a little bit more complicated, so I can't really check it. But yeah, looks kinda cool.
It does. Definitely a fringe benefit once again of doing this podcast. See, we're learning along with all of you folks at the same time, finding cool games.
I read up about them before, so I learned about these a couple of days ago. I was kidding. It was just before the podcast I read up about this one. I wasn't prepared.
Oh god, I'm so relieved to hear that I'm not alone in being like a last minute planner.
Good. Existential dread is one of my many avenues of humor. For myself, I don't try to pretend that other people would find me funny, but it's to entertain myself mostly.
I mean, that's all you could ever hope for, right?
Yeah.
Entertain yourself, have a good time.
Yeah. I personally don't really play that many horror games because I'm dead inside. Like, I don't really get scared. People who have seen me stream Amnesia, Resident Evil Village and stuff like that know that, you know, I mainly tend to go towards aggression if I ever get scared or something like that instead.
You end up offering a sort of unsatisfying experience from a viewer perspective, not having enough of a strong reaction to jump scares and horror elements.
Yeah, I just meme about stuff, and then people in chat are just like, no, this is too scary, or like, I feel nervous, and it's like, why?
That's a shame. I could definitely relate to that, though, for sure. Like, I feel like the best horror streams are legitimately from people who just don't want to be there.
I think one of the funniest games I've ever played was actually a horror game where I was literally laughing so much I was crying. Apparently it's a horror game anyway. Observer, have you ever played this?
Oh yes. Did you not enjoy Observer?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. It was literally the funniest thing I've played. Because at some points you're supposed to go into this world where like the unknown is very Lovecraftian kind of themes where like cosmic horror and cool bits like that are happening. So basically you're sitting there in this long ass corridor, your sky coming, it's just sky above, there's no ceiling or anything like that, and you can just see like the bottomless abyss and stuff like that, and all of a sudden like soap dispensers are starting to rain down on you. And I just lost this. Honestly, I didn't like... I thought that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's like so random.
I know they redid it recently. I might need to revisit it and see these soap dispensers.
Yeah, it was the Redux that I played. It's a really good game. Like it's a good game. I'm sure that if you're somebody who's not dead inside, you're actually gonna feel stuff other than, you know, joy, I suppose. So that's probably man. Is that really a selling point though? You're gonna feel other stuff than joy?
I mean, soap dispensers. It makes me want to play it again.
It was really good.
I liked it. Yeah, it was kind of a different setting. Honestly, it's sort of almost like a Blade Runner dystopian future sort of setting, but with soap dispensers.
Do you have anything to add into this one?
No, another one for my my someday pile, I think. But I'm glad this was brought to our attention. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, like, Welsh horror seems pretty cool.
How are we so bad at our job, Fred? How do we miss so many games coming out?
There's so many games. I don't know about you, but as a streamer, like, you get like on weekdays maybe like 1 or 2 keys every day almost, and people just like, you just guess keys for games that you're never gonna have time to stream anyway, because they just want to do that. Because as a streamer, most developers will see you as a billboard. So there's like, here, have a key, stream it. And I was like, I don't have time. I'm so sorry.
I feel like maybe this is a little bit too heavy on the braggage. Like, we might want to tone it down, honestly. Like, just saying you have too many keys for time is, I don't know.
Oh, don't worry. It's most of them are complete garbage games. Like, they wouldn't even like, they give out those to anyone. Like, it's like the game, you know, they don't care about me, really.
No, I completely understand. There's if you're a content creator and you're looking for key opportunities, like opportunities to cover games, you will receive the most random things. And,
Yeah.
and you know, good on them for making games and trying at things. But sometimes you just have to pass. Unfortunately, just not enough time in the day.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like AAA games they just throw at you either. It's like, you know, those bargain bin. Here we have like the dominant species of hentai or something like that is what they like send you basically, and it's like, I can't stream this.
Right.
For a number of reasons.
Or games that have some sort of reference to a recent event which happened in the planet somewhere, which you sort of know they were just like at the last minute, like deleting one of the words in the title to just sort of add something that was kind of culturally relevant.
Yeah, it's yeah. So like, it's not good stuff that they just give you without anything. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, as a fan of indie games,
yeah,
these might not necessarily qualify.
Yeah,
so
most of the time anyway, I should probably add.
Right. Exactly.
Sometimes it's actually games that are on your radar that they're just like, oh, here you go. And it's like, yes. And that actually makes your entire week.
I love happy little accidents like that, actually. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Stormground was just released. And it's having some mixed reception. 67 though. That's good for a Warhammer game. Honestly, like Warhammer games aren't, you know, Warhammer fans will tell you we're not spoiled with good games. Yeah, it's like Total War, and then it's like Dawn of War 2 and 1, Space Marine.
Yeah, I don't want to be dismissive, but it genuinely does seem to be a case of almost being spoiled for choice, and maybe quantity over quality. Dare I be so bold? Because there's basically, as good as the Warhammer mythos is in the franchise, and there's some amazing games in it, there genuinely seems to be pretty much a Warhammer game for virtually every genre that you could possibly think of.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're like the novels. 70% are probably garbage, then you have 30% that are actually good. This one is up my alley. I'm definitely going to be streaming this one later on. 100% I even have it installed and everything.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't had time because I'm mowing through Mass Effect right now. I'm just trying my best to get through Mass Effects.
No small task.
No, it definitely not. I'm like up in 88 hours or something like that.
Are you just trying to get through it, or are you trying to do a more or less?
I said I was just going to get through it, but then I did 100% on like Mass Effect 2, and I did like 99% on Mass Effect 1 or something like that. And right now I'm just sitting there like, any quests we haven't done yet on Mass Effect 3, like a dumbass. But
like
I'm just going to have to stream a little bit more. On the release weekend of Red Dead Redemption 2, I actually streamed through the entire game. It was released on a Friday. I completed it on like the Monday afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, I streamed that a lot. That's 60 hours or some shit like that on like just those 4 days.
Was that playing at a legit pace where you're just like rushing through dialogue?
No, I was actually doing it at my own pace. I was just streaming like for 14 hours a day, basically. But I was just like, oh, look, a beaver I can hunt. And the hunt was on, and I was like, oh yes, look, this is also something that's completely relevant to the plot. Animal urine. And he would just go on a hunt again. Do stuff like this. I think I had like 87% completion rate or something like that in the end after 60 hours. I did not do a lot of like sightseeing though in it. There was a lot of like cool stuff that I missed, but I remember on the last day, somebody came in and gave a really heavy spoiler for the story. I was like, that was 1.5 days ago.
Oh, that's so satisfying if you have a troll that's too late.
It really was. Yeah. I think I was one of the... I was probably, maybe not the first, but I was definitely like in the top 3 of people who finished it first on Twitch.
Really?
Yeah, like 100%. I was checking out. Nobody was really as like close as me. To the ending afterwards, but then again, they could have finished it before, but I doubt it.
Everybody else was on their second or third run by now, folks. Fred thought he was actually being quick, but he was just on his first run. It's
one of my few Twitch brags, basically, because when they come in and start bragging to you about like and trying to spoil stuff for you, when the trolls are trying to spoil for you, but it was so long ago that you had to be reminded of it.
Right.
That's when you know you're doing stuff.
I know those feels very, very, very well. Just having somebody come in and thinking that they could just ruin your entire playthrough, and then you just have to drop the bomb that, oh, honey, you think this is my first run? No.
So I can't remember how this tangent started anyway, but Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is Warhammer. The Warhammer world in fantasy basically ends. They have an end time. The bad guys win, essentially. That's canon. They win, and the world gets destroyed. About 1,000 years later, Sigmar meets Celestial Dragon, and then he's just like, you know what? I can think reality again. And then he remakes everybody, and that's when Age of Sigmar comes in. So this is one of the first games in Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is basically something that most of the fans hate, because it ruined the setting, and the people who play the tabletop love it because the models are really goddamn cool. So if they have a good game with Age of Sigmar where you have really cool models, good gameplay, I mean, that's just the start of the conversion for everybody else. Maybe they'll like it eventually.
I'm actually really glad you knew the backstory on this. I had no idea. So basically, what we have is a sort of Valhalla apocalypse situation, and then also the side benefit of just being able to basically start over and then start a new age afterwards.
Yeah, and it's also Focus Home Interactive that makes this. Focus Home Interactive is a publisher that literally makes 7 out of 10 games. I'm not saying like in quantity, but I am saying in quality. Like they will make a game that is good for what it is. They're not gonna go really deep into this, but if you want a game with this, you're not gonna find much better, honestly. It's not a game that they almost never do games that are just like, yeah, you're gonna play through it all again in a bit. But you know, like I've never been really dissatisfied with them. They're really one of my go-to publishers with just like games that I'm probably gonna enjoy, but not think are like AAA 10 out of 10 games. I just enjoy for what they are.
It's sort of the 7 out of 10 area. It's always like a score area or a score point in games that I always struggle the most with when I'm trying to explain what I like about a game to, say, viewers or people that might be interested, or whether or not they think it might be worth their time. Because kind of like you, if it's a good game, even if it's, you know, say 20, 30 hours, what have you, like that's a good experience for me, assuming the price point isn't atrocious. So I know a lot of people seem to sort of expect a bit more out of their titles, which kind of makes it tricky to kind of recommend or basically discourage people from checking out a title. But
so other games they made are like Vampire. Well, published actually, not made, but Vampire. Shipbreaker, which is actually a really good game as well. SnowRunner. Styx. And recently Hood. As well.
That one, yeah.
Hood is actually the only game there that I am like, this is not 7 out of 10. I got a key for that one and I streamed this and I was like, probably never touching this again. I thought it was a chaotic mess. I'm sorry, Focus Home Interactive, if you're listening, or the developers or whatever, but I did not enjoy that game. It was definitely a low point for the publisher, in my opinion.
This is where I slowly slink down in my chair without offering any commentary and just sort of let you take the brunt of all the comments.
But you liked it, right?
I actually did. I'm a huge fan of that genre, and that's sort of a hard thing to pin down because there's so few games that sort of run parallel to games that are sort of like a 4v4 kind of a tactical brawler. I don't know if you played Nosgoth, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that as well the other day.
Right. Well, you know, they don't know that, so we have to pretend like we're meeting for the first time and go through all these motions. But yeah, I thought it was vaguely sort of Nosgoth-esque, which, you know, if you know anything about the game, it didn't end well, unfortunately. But I think it has potential. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a perfect game. It does have issues. It needs some class balance, and it needs a few tweaks. It needs some love. So I think it's ultimately going to come down to what the developer does with the feedback, because it also suffers from a short stack of content, meaning you don't need to play too awfully long to basically max everything out. And I know for a PvP game, that's something that gamers usually expect to see is a very high return on the hours played per dollar spent.
Yeah, because this is a PvP game. You basically have choose between 1 to 4 classes, and then you try to stealth into a cathedral, steal a chest full of gold, and you're competing versus another team of 4 for that thing.
And honestly, props to the developer for tackling that sort of dynamic, which is not usually something you see attempted very often.
Yeah, I guess I really like that they're going into like doing so unique and really cool. But I felt that like most matches would end like at the tail end of when you're trying to load the chest into something, and everybody's just rushing towards each other, and you're just like murdering.
Stealth goes out the window, and it's all about that last notch on the winch.
Yeah, because they advertise a lot like stealth, cooperating and stuff like that, but it turns kind of into like a worse version of For Honor, essentially.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the main criticisms that I've seen levied towards it. They did say they're looking at expanding the PvE elements of the game, which at this point is essentially non-existent. There's only the training mode, which allows you to kind of get the feel of the game. No progression or anything, but
yeah, it is a 6 out of 10 game, basically, though. Well, 59% of users were positive. So I would say that doesn't hold up to the 7 out of 10 standard. I wouldn't say still it was a bad game, but it definitely was not for me.
Yeah, honestly, same. Like, I definitely could use some love. Whether or not we see that is definitely up in the air. But I do have to point out, to their credit, considering Sumo is I think roughly 5% the size of Ubisoft, which made For Honor. For Honor also has mixed reviews, funny or unfunny enough, depending on your perspective.
Yeah,
so it's a really hard formula to get right.
How many are they then? 5%, because Ubisoft is still, if I don't misremember myself, the largest developer in Europe as well.
Yeah, something like 18,000 employees last I checked.
18,000?
That's what the wiki said, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. Beefy company.
In that case, I'm going to segue into the next game on the list, which is actually Biomutants.
All right.
Because this is actually very interesting, because a lot of people were expecting triple A game, essentially. Because it's a triple A price tag on it.
Right.
And this was made by apparently a team of 20 people, from what I understand. Which is pretty... well, not so much, honestly. It just got released last week, and it really got hammered, essentially, in reviews and stuff like that for what people had hyped it up for. And I played this. I did get a review key for it. I actually like this, but I like all the like trashy Ubisoft games as well. I like the whole running around on a map, on an open map, level up, find different chests, upgrade your bows, your mech, level up, stuff like that. I really like it. It had rough edges though, like really rough edges. Like magic felt really weird. You have to level that up quite a bit until it's good, and then you have to find like the good spells and good combos for that to be good. Like bullets was hands down just much better than anything else. You didn't need to level up too much. You didn't need to do anything. Melee was okay, balance wise, but it didn't have a lot of feedback to what you did. All in all, like, I really like this game. I still have it installed, and I still play it like off stream, because everybody was just complaining about it all the time on stream. I don't need that energy, man. I have a small kid. I don't have the energy to give to this. I thought it was cool though, for what it was. The developers are also actually trying to fix it as well.
So are you continuing the playthrough, or are you holding it or shelving it until you hope to see some changes?
No, I'm still playing through it. That they're gonna fix stuff is just, maybe I'll go back to it at some points as well, stream it then as well. But I think like the entire everything that they did on this one, if they would have had it for like $40 or something like that, most people would have just recommended it basically here, I think. Because $60, it's too much for this kind of title. But for like 40 or something like that, yeah, that seems like an alright release price maybe. Would have had it for 30. Yeah, nobody would have complained then, I think. Does play roughly like a $40 game, essentially. Not bad at all, but 60 is just, you expect more. The narrator was also a little bit intrusive sometimes, and like dialogues had problems as well. You'd go and talk to somebody. They would have like their own Muppet language essentially, like woo, 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 woo. And then the narrator would take over. So you'd go in and talk to somebody. They would do their thing, and then the narrator would do stuff. And it would mostly be, and then you had to make a choice in the dialogue, and it would basically be like, hey, do you want to come and help me? And it's like, you could only press yes, and it would be like, yeah. It's like, and so the hero would go, and it would just take a lot of time and just be a time thief basically for you. It's a lot of like rough edges like that essentially in this. That could have just been better.
Or just not been in the game. It's one of the criticisms I've heard levied towards Biomutant was definitely the bugs, the rough around the edges syndrome, the state of it, and the narrator who apparently essentially made it feel like you had a translator accompanying you in all your adventures.
Yeah.
More so than expanding on the story. And to go back to a previous point you made, I definitely agree about the price points argument, because it's really, it's sometimes hard to get people to sort of make them realize that a developer isn't going to release a AAA game, if you could even agree on what that is. If that's what they're used to, like Hood, going back to Hood for just a second, that's a good example, because like a lot of PvP people would expect like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield. So it's a struggle usually to get people to kind of look at it from a different lens. Like, okay, this is a smaller team. It's 20 people. The fact that it's 3D and looks okay at all is definitely unusual for that size of a developer. But when it's a $60 price tag, and that's when you sort of can't avoid the AAA comparisons, can you?
Yeah, I mean, like, the one criticism I do not understand that people say is like the graphics. The graphics are actually amazing. They're really, really good. Like the fur and stuff like that is really good. I can understand that people might not like the art direction, because it all does look like Muppets made for like a furry convention or something. But overall, like, the graphics are amazing.
Yeah, they look really good. I'm never going to be able to get the Muppet association in my head now when I play it. So thank you in advance.
No problem.
They do, oh my god, they do look like Muppets.
Yeah.
This is like if Sesame Street it suffered an apocalypse and then life evolved for a few thousand years.
Yeah, that's essentially
cannibalism. Somehow Elmo is like the leader of a tribe of bandits.
No, it's
my imagination's going wild now.
Overall, like, I liked it. I would probably recommend it to people who like open world games. It's a janky game, but most games in like the early 2000s and before that were pretty goddamn janky. So it's good for what it is.
Yeah, it's always such a gamble to see a game come out that's also plays smoothly right out of the box. Not that as gamers we should accept subpar releases, but I know anybody that's our age, we kind of miss the era of games being released on CD that are complete and expansion packs rather than rampant DLCs. But I
mean, we're both that age where we probably, I don't know if you ever played Giant Citizen Kabuto, but it was also one of those games that were really pretty, really cool, janky as all hell.
Right.
Like, if you could play it for more than an hour, that's really good, honestly. It was, once again, one of those 3D Glide or Glide 3D or whatever games that would just keep on crashing constantly, but once it run, it's pretty good.
Almost making me nostalgic for buggy games somehow. So you play this and I haven't, so I can't weigh in nearly as much. But what would you say? Like, wait and see what the developer does. Maybe wait for a sale, so it's not.
Yeah, buy it on a key site. Otherwise, that's cheaper. Not one of those weird ones that have like physical copies that they scan in and stuff, but like, a legit one. It's usually cheaper. Like, the only thing that Steam is ever gonna lose on is price points. They take too much of a cut from everything, so you can already find it like at release. You could find it for $40 basically. So I think that's better price points. But if you get it for 30 later on sale, fantastic. You're probably gonna like it, I guess. If you already like open world games like the Assassin's Creed titles, Far Cry.
I've heard some people compare it to Breath of the Wild very loosely as well.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. I was thinking now, but I didn't want to get it. It was hopes that high. One game that is basically, well, not exactly that high, but goddamn close, is Phoenix Rising, I think it was called. It's only on Ubisoft. But Phoenix Rising seems really, really cool.
This was the game that came out, was it last year, right?
Yeah, during it was during Ubisoft like barrage of games where they released Watch Dogs, Valhalla, and then that one essentially. But I think that one was really, really good, and it's gonna be one of those games like in 10 years, people are just gonna go like, you know what's really good? You know what game was really good back in the day and nobody talks about? I think that game is definitely gonna be one of those because it flew under everybody's radar. And not too close to the sun, which is, well, I mean, that's Icarus, not Phoenix, so never mind me.
I was going to say bonus points for an Icarus reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for other content creators, I probably never would have known the game came out, honestly. But everybody that played it seemed to have good things to say, like good sense of humor, good story, fun action mechanics.
It was basically Assassin's Creed Odyssey meets Breath of the Wild. That's what it was.
It looks good. My biggest gripe, and I know this is really unreasonable, it was the fact that they spelled Phoenix Fenyx.
Yeah,
and Phoenixes already exist in that reality.
Yeah, so but it's the character's name.
I was unreasonably upset that they just changed the.
But it's the character's name. It's like somebody is like, no, my name is David. Or something.
Yeah, it's like a sort of like the cliche, hard to pronounce or hard to spell, like Rebecca in in English speaking country, but spelt with like 2 K's and a silent Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It looks really, really good. It's actually a good comparison. I'd completely forgot about Phoenix Rising.
That was cool. Then we had Pathway. This one you had on your list. This one was released 2019. This isn't new. Did you establish the Switch release?
Right, another Switch release. And honestly, I'm a bit surprised that it took 2 years to jump platforms. But yeah, we streamed this for about a day. I think it was in 2019, and I had fun with it. It's sort of a roguelike feel to it, almost like Indiana Jones meets a tactical game / roguelike. I couldn't really vouch for how much replayability it has, but I enjoyed it. There's unlockable characters and things that kind of change up the scenarios. Maybe not the biggest enemy selection or random encounter features or mechanics, but you might see a rough similarity to the node system that might invoke games like FTL or bring those to mind. But this is kind of fun. It's definitely a good distraction for a day or two.
It's one of those. It's good for what it is.
Exactly. Like for the price point, if this is your cup of tea, like you like the genre, hop in, waste a day or two.
And let's face it, most games we tell ourselves we're going to play again, we never do.
Right.
I had Pathfinder Kingmaker, installed for, like months after I had finished this. But I'm not gonna put myself through another 200-hour playthrough this year.
That's
I played this last year, so but it's probably not.
It's a good game from what I understand, though. I never played it. It's a tragedy.
Oh, Pathfinder?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. It does. It's one of those games that are so good that I have to compare it to Baldur's Gate 2.
High praise. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 2, best RPG ever. Even though there are better out now, but it's the best one ever. Also, there were better ones back then, but I guess like Planescape is a C RPG.
Right. It's definitely one I need to revisit.
Speaking of CRPGs, Disco Elysium also got its full voice acting patches last month as well. So if anyone hasn't checked out, I'd like that one. It's pretty goddamn fantastic.
Yeah, is it good quality? Have you listened to any of the voice lines?
Yeah, I streamed it actually like 3 times or so. Well, 3 days or something combined, I think. Oh, it's really good. It's incredibly funny and just weird, essentially. It's one of those. Oh, perfect. my coat is stuck up on on a high ledge, so I'll just jump down this ledge and get it, and then you get a bad roll and you die.
Right.
Or, trick a kid into grabbing it for you or something. Well, I don't think you can actually do exactly that, but it's very open anyway in what you can do and how you can approach stuff.
Sort of vaguely reminiscent of choose your own adventure shenanigans.
Yeah. Also, your character is literally such a drunkard that the biggest mystery of it all is just who you are and how you got there.
It's good to have such an open slate for character growth, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
To the point of not knowing even who you are when you start the title.
Yep. No, it's pretty perfect. But this one, would you recommend this?
Yeah, if you like the genre, maybe with like a spin of Indiana Jones on it, you'll probably enjoy it for a day or two. You can't expect too much for the price point or too much out of the title, but I don't regret the day that I spent with it.
Nice.
Tactical game, pretty solid, not too deep, but enjoyable. Got a nice aesthetic to it.
It did feel like a more story-based Advanced Wars or their new ones, which is called... Wait, it's Chucklefish as well? Wait, they're actually the ones that has made us. There we go, Wargroove.
Oh, well, no wonder it brought that to mind.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's like the same engine or whatever.
Most likely. I actually haven't seen much of Wargroove.
They do cool stuff. But let's get on to the next one.
Let's do it.
So you had this one on your list as well. Song of Horror, complete edition coming out here. Man, you had another one here that was released 2019.
Yeah, a lot of these are just making it to console. It's the name of the game this year.
Yes.
Yeah,
that does make sense.
Knowing that you're not incredibly well-versed, I guess, in horror games, I can't imagine you've played this yet.
No, I mean, like, I saw this scene here, and I'm like, straight away, I just go, I rewinded too much. I go straight away. You know what? Sometimes here, it looks like they drew on the wall. They have so many, like, how do they make these things? They're gonna have to paint the walls later on. This is like literally taking down property value.
Right.
That's such a careless ghost.
They tend to be very inconsiderate. That's true.
So I just think about stuff like that, and like, look at them having carbon monoxide poisoning. It's very typical for this era of houses.
You're sort of involuntarily forcing me into the perspective of this being sort of like, what's the house fixer-upper game?
Yeah. I bet those are tenants that just they couldn't get away. So when you bought this, you just had to get them as well.
Just ignore the eviction notice.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty enjoyable game. One of the most unique things about the series, I only played episode 1, is the fact that it plays out a little bit like a horror movie in that for each episode you have, I think, probably 3 or 4 characters to choose from. And if you die in the episode with that character, the character is dead, and then you load into the map again with another character from the list. So it's a bit movie-like in that sense, because characters will meet and end if you're not careful.
Oh, like in Until Dawn and their Man of Medan games.
Right, a little bit like that. But they're good horror games, solid. I kind of regret having not played the most recent episodes and seeing the story through. But pretty enjoyable.
Did you play this one, by the way?
Yeah, I played the first episode.
Would you recommend this?
Definitely, yeah. If you're a horror fan, for sure. I had a lot of fun with it. Kind of unique, in my opinion. It's a great way to make yourself humble as well, because there are instances in this game, without giving too much away, where if you're ever in a horror game and you think to yourself, well, this is a bad idea, why am I doing this? You get all of that out of this game, but it will just instantly kill you when you perform that action. So.
Oh, well, that's comforting.
I mean, what's a horror game without constant fear of wrecking your characters, right?
Exactly. true horror is the existential dread we're all feeling. Days Gone. Well, I was gonna segue into the next one really smoothly. I was like, all right, Days Gone anyway. Just got a PC release, and the reception has basically been like this: fantastically done PC ports, really good game on PC. Everybody likes having this one on PC. Everybody who didn't have a PlayStation likes having this on a PC, and the DRM seems to be awful.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
Or the user agreements anyway. So one of my viewers had to go in and they say like, oh, so apparently the user agreement says that they're allowed to copy files from you. They're allowed to monitor stuff, a bunch of stuff like that essentially. Then when I dug more into it, it was basically like, yeah, they copy your save files in case stuff goes wrong. So from the only thing I can see about it is, I'm probably wrong, yes, don't take like, internet security answer from somebody sitting in a panda shirt.
I mean,
but it does seem like they, like Sony wants the actual like, everything that can go wrong with the ports. They want to fix that to make better ports in the future.
Always a big plus.
Yeah.
When they're sort of mindful of conversion to a new system.
Once again, also, this is $50. You can guess this one cheaper on other places. I actually personally bought it on Epic. I know like a lot of people hate on Epic, but this is literally what Steam is going to lose on and will be forced to change something in the future, sometime in the future. Because it's $50 here, but on release, it was $25 on the sale on Epic with a coupon.
Ooh.
So it literally half price.
That's a good shout. Actually, I didn't realize the price difference was so huge.
Really weird. I felt personally that it would be like. This is all Swedish, by the way. So probably should fix that so it doesn't go into the Swedish store at some points.
I mean, all you need is just to get a gist of the game, right? We have the main character going through what seems like a definitively Revenant, Leonardo DiCaprio bear fight.
Yeah. Also, Sam Witwer, who does the voice, streams this game as well.
Oh.
He's also Darth
awesome.
Maul in the animated show, Star Wars.
That's actually really
Clone Wars. And he was also the main protagonist in Force Unleashed, Starkiller.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I love tidbits like that.
Yeah, he does a lot of like RPG streams and stuff like that.
That's really cool. You'd love finding out that certain actors, you're a fan of their work, tends to also be an equally large nerd.
Yeah.
Game it up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Have you checked out this game at all?
I've only seen snippets of streams, honestly. It looks amazing. I've heard really good things about it as well, but I have not played it. Have you?
No, I did buy it though, so I will be streaming it in the future. Still going through Mass Effect and stuff like that.
Right. It looks good though.
So we'll have to see about this one. But gaming news are gaming news, aren't they? And then we had Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I thought we were touch on this one fairly quickly because I think a lot of people who are into podcast gaming news are kind of sick of listening to about this one.
Just like the dirty little secrets sort of towards the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
There's been some Mass Effect references.
Well, we have one more after this one.
Oh, okay. It's good to not finish with it because it's easier for people to miss.
Yeah.
Mass Effect talk.
Exactly.
So you having been the only person here of the two of us who has played the Legendary Edition, how would you say it holds up compared to the originals?
The first one is better, clearly worth it. The other ones, like they aged pretty well anyway from the get-go. So it is what it is on those, I guess. But I've been enjoying playing through it. I haven't played them for since the third one got released, which is 9 years ago. So when I started streaming, I was like, man, everybody remembers everything that's happening here constantly. And is my memory shot or something? Because I was like playing through them and then I would remember it as I went along with this. But then I was like, oh wow, it's 9 years ago since the latest one. No wonder I can't remember stuff.
I sort of have a very unimpressive skill, and that's to have very vivid memories of video games and basically forget everything else that might have happened in that time period.
Yeah, same. But like this one was, I remember it as I go along, which is really weird. But so far it's been really fun to play.
Almost like getting to experience it again then.
Yeah. $60 is like a lot, but you forget, man, how many DLCs this one has. Like all the like Mass Effect 2 and 3, they have tons of DLC. It's basically worth just getting it from that one. They are missing the DLC from the first one, allegedly.
Really?
I mean, I can't remember it, but apparently they are. So and no multiplayer as well, but I think it's pretty good, honestly. Well worth play. Well, a good reason to play through it again.
Right, or in my situation, a great reason to finally get around to experiencing the whole old trilogy.
Yeah, 100%. You can do it in like 80 hours, get through it all. I'm probably gonna clock mine in on 100 something, I think.
That's very solid. Not too bad.
Yep. But people seem to like it. It has 88 positive reviews. So that's always good. I did have some bugs in the first one, but it is a remaster, so they usually like import the bugs as well and then create a couple of new ones.
It creates a vintage, legitimate experience to just sort of port the bugs over, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, it is a remaster, not a remake. A lot of people don't really know like the difference between those, but a remake is basically when you remake the game from scratch. This is a remaster, which means that they put in all the resources they already had. They put a higher type of a higher resolution on textures, put in like modern UIs and graphic options, stuff like that. But other than that, it's the same game.
Right.
Remasters are usually a good example of this. It's like owning Ace Ventura Pet Detective on VHS, and then you bought this on Blu-ray. Same movie still. Not everything has aged well, and very likely wouldn't have been released like it was either. It probably had to change the stuff if it would have been released today, but it's the movie you liked, and you just don't need to rewind it constantly, and you have it on Blu-ray with higher resolution. It looks prettier.
That's actually a really good way to describe what, in fact, a remaster is. I might have to steal that. Not just the concept, but even the movie reference, Ace Ventura 2 specifically.
Yeah, that's I thought about that one when I was streaming Rome Total War Remastered.
Right.
Because that game, or Total War Rome Remastered, as it's called, it's not the other way around. But that game is the same. Like, it's such an old game. It's just newer and prettier. Everybody thought they were gonna get like Rome 3 or something, but it's just the first one that they have, made a little bit more modern, but it's not that much better.
It's important to understand the distinction to avoid disappointment, and also not spend money on something you end up not liking.
Yeah.
Because Rome was one of my favorites Total War games. The AI was dumb as bricks, and it still had quite a few flaws, but it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, still 100% is just as stupid as you remember this. It's a remaster, not a remake.
Exactly. And the question probably everybody is waiting to be answered about Mass Effect Legendary Edition is, does the Mako handle the same way as it did in the first
They have
game?
a new type a new control scheme for it, and a new kind of, so you can handle it better. It's a little bit better, but it is oddly designed from the get-go. Some of the levels are like insane for that Mako. There's one level where we just landed, and it's just like really deep valleys, really high peaks, and super steep mountains and everything like that. And you basically have a Skyrim horse across this little moon, basically, like through it all. And it's like, it's living hell. Honestly, it's just so bad. But it doesn't flip and stuff like that as much maybe as it used to. But yeah, it doesn't handle that much better. It's the same Mako that you fell in love with.
It's honestly a relief to hear that, because it's just a really vivid memory of the first game, especially just having really atrocious controls and immediately regretting in any moment in which you decided to actually go for some blip on the HUD or the map, just punishing you with, as you said, impossible mountains and deep valleys.
Yeah.
Remaster, not a remake.
Exactly. But anyway, I would personally recommend this. It's a good reason to get back to it. It's still Mass Effect, which is not Andromeda.
Did they not include it then?
No.
Make that conscious decision?
No.
Okay.
I mean, Andromeda killed the entire franchise essentially, but that's like different reasons for that. If you ever want to know the entire story, well, actually, you know what? Let's just TLDR is really fast. Why Andromeda was not received the best. Essentially, they were making this really advanced Mass Effect game. They had like 50 planets. Everything was working. Combat was cool. Everything. Frostbite. They were working with the Frostbite engine. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then 18 months before release, they were just like, we don't have a story. We have nothing. So they just went and like just made like 9 planets instead. 7 or 9 or whatever it was. And then they just hammered everything in. And obviously facial animation, stuff like that, just didn't have time for it. It's just unpolished mess, essentially. That was just rushed with the story and stuff. But the combat was good. There's a lot of problems with it otherwise. And it was so poorly received that it killed the franchise, essentially. And now maybe Legendary Edition will kickstart it again.
It never ceases to surprise me when you hear that a game maybe didn't quite have the foreplanning that it deserves, especially when it's a larger intellectual property like Mass Effect is.
Yeah,
you hate to hear it. You really do.
Yeah, it's like Total War also was in some heated water now this week because they decided to end all support for Three Kingdoms. And that's actually something that was incredibly poorly received, as I will show you here. With now you can't read Swedish, but there we go, overwhelmingly negatives. Now it's down to 18%. As you can see here, the reviews went like this, and then the last couple of days when they announced that, it has been going pretty bad.
Wow.
Because essentially, Creative Assembly had talked about it earlier a couple of times that they're going to do a northern expansion for the northern armies. If you're not familiar with the story of the Three Kingdoms, the big battle is basically the Battle of Redcliffe, which they have made movies about and stuff like that. And they didn't include this. Oh, here's even somebody who said that. And they also said they're not going to make more patches for it either. And there's some very glaring bugs in it that you can encounter on like turn 1, which is pretty bad.
That's really unfortunate.
So it's one of those things that everything Creative Assembly is now getting review bombed. So when you're listening to this in the week, maybe it's different. Maybe it's all been solved, and usually Steam will get rid of irregular reviews. Because right now it went from, fairly decent, like mostly positive, overall still, to like 18% recommend this last couple of days.
Overwhelmingly negative. It's probably one of the most significant turnovers I've actually seen on the platform.
Yeah, and it's like that with every single Creative Assembly Total War game now. Essentially, I think so, at least. All the Warhammer stuff and all the Three Kingdoms stuff anyway. All DLC and everything.
So was there a really high expectation then that they would continue support and release more
Yes.
DLC for 3
Essentially, like, it's a multifaceted problem, essentially, and I'm not going to go too long into it, but essentially, Creative Assembly has made a DLC model for previous games where they support stuff for several years. This one had for about 2 years. And they had promised an expansion. They have always kept their word on everything else. So obviously, that's a little bit of a thing that makes people angry.
Right.
The bugs aren't going to get fixed and it was on sale just 2 weeks ago. So just now, when it's too late to refund, they announced no more supports.
I'm not surprised on that last point. That definitely sounds like a recipe for some consumer anger.
Yeah, so a lot of people got very angry about these things. And to top it all off, they said that instead they're gonna work on the next game in the Three Kingdoms universe, the same team. So it means that the map that is in it now is not going to get fleshed out. The bugs won't be fixed, but they're making Three Kingdoms 2. So essentially they set themselves up in the same way, to be perceived in the same way as Ark, for example, would be, was when they were still in early access and they released Atlas, the pirate game.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're not done with the other one, they're still gonna try to sell you something else. So people got very angry about that. Maybe it's gonna blow over, but I think like a lot of goodwill that they've earned themselves for the last 5 years have definitely taken a beating.
It'd be interesting to see if this would be one of the instances where the overwhelmingly negative consumer feedback would actually spur the developer to change their stance.
Yeah, because Creative Assembly had a little bit of a rough and tumble with their public image after Rome 2, because they promised a lot of stuff and it was completely broken at release. And I mean, like it was bad, right?
It was one of the games. For me, not to overstate it, but it was one of the games that came out that year out of like 2 or 3, which basically shook my belief in pre-ordering games, which I felt had surefire, safe bets franchises.
Yeah. So after that, they made Attila, which was not as bad, not super good still, but not as bad at all. And then they made Warhammer, which had a good launch. And they made a lot of other games that just had good launches, essentially. Three Kingdoms was delayed as well because they wanted to fix stuff, and it got very well received. It became their biggest seller, essentially. The fastest one to get to 1 million sales and stuff like that. And also the only PC exclusive game to make it to the North American top 3 best-selling points. That was PC exclusive since Diablo 3, which was 2012.
Even outperforming Warhammer.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and it also obviously made incredible, sales in like China and Korea, I think.
Right.
So, yeah, people are obsessed about them doing that.
And what's your personal take on the situation?
My personal take is, like, I work with Creative Assembly a lot. I'm what they call a Total War partner, so I can actually talk to Creative Assembly people, and I do quite often. And I think it's really sad that they're, like, essentially they have kept their word. They've had a lot of goodwill, and that's taken a big toll. Like, personally, I always knew that if they said they were going to make something, they were going to make it. But now I can't tell people anymore, like, yeah, they said they were going to do it, so obviously that's going to happen. Now I always have to, like, say stuff like, but they might change their mind, or, stuff like that. And personally, I think that sucks. Like, really does. I really like this game as well, so I'm sad that they're not going to flesh out the rest. They actually said that they're going to make another game instead.
Right, especially when you said the original wasn't quite bug free, quite finished, ignoring even the addition of DLC.
You can definitely play it like it was, but they had expanded the northern parts. They said they were going to make the northern parts, and it is one of those games that's like Paradox games. You expect a certain amount of DLC from them because that's how they have done their stuff throughout, like, the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So it's just, gotta think about that now instead, I guess.
It's a shame to see the loss in goodwill and trust from the franchise. I'm a huge Total War fan in general. I'd argue it's a bit too much, a little bit overboard to see people review bomb other games in the series.
Yeah.
but I can understand why people were upset about it.
Yeah, I don't think review bombing is really the way to go for it. I don't know exactly what they could do else. I don't like the practice of review bombing, but I can get behind why they're upset anyway. Like, the announcement was just, poorly communicated and bad. Because if everything your company is doing is getting review bombed, obviously you said something bad, right?
Yeah, and really bad timing, whether planned or unplanned. Also, if a sale had ended 2 weeks prior.
Yeah, but that was a little bit of a tangent. That's just a little bit of gaming news that happened, which we'll go through on this podcast as well.
Yeah, I mean, both Total War fans, so.
Yeah, I mean, the entire subreddit is just full of stuff like that, and has been for the last couple of days as well. It's basically all Total War is talking about at this point. It's all what the Total Warriors are talking about.
Word on the streets.
But onwards towards the next game.
All right.
Necromunda, Hired Gun.
This actually looks kind of promising.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Definitely. I have it installed. I'm going to play it tomorrow, so it's a little bit bad timing with the podcast, I guess. But, next podcast episode, you will know my thoughts about it. It's one of those games that I feel is, once again, Focus Home Interactive. Makes 7 out of 10 games. In quality terms, not quantity. And it's one of those games that I feel is their take on the Doom franchise, the newer ones, but in Warhammer 40k kind of thing. So if you guys don't know what 40k is, it's the Warhammer universe. It's the year 42,000-ish, over 40,000 anyway. The god emperor mankind came around. He thrust us into space. Mankind is everywhere. If you're unlucky, you live in one of these hive cities, in the undercities. That's where Necromunda is. It's basically Mad Max, but you don't see the sky. Everything sucks, and everything else in the universe is trying to kill you with different grades of success. And if you're really unlucky, even demons will appear in front of you.
As if overpopulation and bandits weren't enough. You also have to deal with demons. Also, can we appreciate very quickly that the image is increased doubly in coolness by the sheer fact that not only does the bounty hunter have a laser eye, but so does the dog. That's just the right level over the top for me.
Yeah, one of them has it on together. They'll have like 2 robot eyes, 2 organic ones.
Right.
Because it's the left and right one as well.
It makes you wonder if they bumped heads, and that's the reason they both have.
Yeah, maybe a grenade went in between them or something.
Yeah. Bullet graze.
Could be.
Laser. Demon.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Like I said, I already have it installed. I'm ready to go, honestly. This is the only game that I'm going to take a break from my Mass Effect playthrough.
I'm really intrigued by this, actually. I'm a huge shooter fan overall, and obviously, injecting that into such a rich world in terms of lore and content and stuff. I'm looking respectfully. You have to let me know how you like this. Comes out tomorrow. Wait, is it tomorrow?
It's already tomorrow here in Futureland.
Right, so Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be playing this in a couple of hours.
Nice.
I guess. Well, I mean, is it like 18 hours or something? But for you guys who are listening, that's in the past.
And you'll have to watch the next episode to see what Fred thinks of the game.
Yes.
So it seems to be missing an RPG tag, so it seems to be more definitively on the action side of things, judging by the Steam page.
Honestly, I hate the RPG tag.
Yeah.
Because everything has skill points nowadays, and people think that makes something an RPG.
This is true. I don't know if you're old enough to remember this. I won't presume, lest I offend you, but there was a time when shooters did not have unlocks or levels or any sort of character progression or upgrades or unlocks. And it was actually something that the shooting community, by and large, was very skeptical of as in terms of being a positive addition to a shooter. So
yeah, but it's just one of those things. Like, people are better at games; they want more stuff. Obviously, you can have more refined mechanics, stuff like that. But even the new Doom games have, skill points, weapon upgrades.
Right.
So can't say that those are RPGs.
Are we riding the dog right now? Is it first person perspective, first pupper's perspective?
I don't know, but he did have a little explosive rat in his hand anyway.
The dog intrigues me. I don't know if you can control it. Can we level the dog? Like I assume at this point,
Spider-Man.
it's 2021, we can pet the dog, but can we level the dog?
I think you can pet it at least. I think I've seen that on the Twitters.
You have to be able to, otherwise this game deserves nothing but thumbs down.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can actually understand that.
It's going 100%. Back to Three Kingdoms level of atrocious. Oh, there we go. Dog upgrades. Okay.
Yeah, I like that they don't have the RPG tag. Like, why? It's a shooter.
Right.
Maybe it's gonna have that, as time goes on, because people actually put that in.
Right. Yeah, not a criticism by any means.
Yeah.
But I imagine a lot of folks might wonder, considering it's in the Warhammer franchise. But it looks good. You have to let me know what you think of this.
Definitely will, as we will record the next one as well. So I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, I think that's all we have for May releases, at least.
Yep.
At least ones that we were both sort of interested in and kind of eyeballing or thought we could share something about. There's a few titles. Obviously, we're not covering everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of titles. Now we went back a little bit extra as well and stuff like that, because it's the first episode. We want to go back to things that were interesting maybe in the last month or so.
So in our personal lives, things that we need to catch up on, get out of our systems, even vent a little bit.
Yeah. Man Eater was also released, but that was also the Switch version. We're not going to go through that too much. It's a shark game. That was... did you ever play that?
I did, yeah. I streamed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Good sense of humor. Kind of what you would expect from a game that is main selling point is being a shark and eating people. Like, not too complex, not too deep, but kind of a fun ride. Yeah,
I think the same. It was a cool game. I'm probably not going to replay it anytime soon, but I liked it for what it was. You're a shark. You murder people. It's the same kind of spirit like Destroy All Humans or...
That's a great point, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had a connection to that sort of genre until...
Yeah, I mean, like, you're the bad guy and you kill people. Wonkily.
Yeah. I will say I was impressed by the amount of points of interest and little, like, sort of secret locations and a lot of, like, humor, a lot of pop culture references. For example, I'm pretty sure I recall seeing a pineapple house in this game at one point.
Yeah, tons of stuff like that in it. So we got a Switch release. Not going to talk about this one too much, I feel, because it's one of those games that have been released, like, first on Epic, then on Steam, then on Switch.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as it was supposed to get, like, ray tracing as well. So
part, though. Good team.
Probably going to be talked about again soon. But 89% positive. Pretty good.
I'm glad it did well.
For $30. I mean, I would recommend it, honestly.
Yeah, I had fun with it. Just don't expect, like, a riveting story or deep combat mechanics if you just want to chew on people. And it's like, well, I was going to say it's like Goat Simulator, but with the shark, but it's more than that.
And it's narrated by Cyril from Archer.
Yes, or I think he's also known for playing the role of, I think, Jerry in Rick and Morty, if I'm not mistaken.
He's also, an actual actor, so he does have a name that completely eludes me, and apparently you as well.
Yes. I like him, though. Well, I'll just say that. I think it was a good choice using him as a narrator.
Yeah. But I think that's the gaming news for this time around.
Yeah, a lot of games that might have come out in previous months that are coming out on console. It just sort of happened just I guess May is the month of console releases, but some good stuff too, like seemingly stuff that you yourself, Fred, hadn't really noticed up until now. So I'm grateful on that front, at least, because there's PC games that I'll probably check out now, thanks to the fact that we're having Switch releases this month.
So this time around, it was probably an extra long episode for you guys to listen to. We said we were gonna keep to like an hour, but it's been a little bit longer now. We're gonna edit away a little bit, and by that I mean like basically my auto completion when I'm typing stuff, and that's it. So around 1 hour 45 something.
Oh wow, the time flew.
Yeah, definitely. So do we have a sign off?
Well, I don't think we'd really plan that far ahead. It goes back to kind of how it started with our emphasis on organic growth and being ground zero of the evolution of the podcast.
Do we just wave?
You could wave, like maybe some funny popping sound effects, some scatting.
Scatting means something completely different nowadays. Just FYI, it's
Right.
not.
Maybe not that.
Scatman isn't the bobbity boobop anymore.
Yeah, that's definitively what I meant. If anybody's listening to this now as a first impression.
Yeah, we have to think about that. We have to move with the times, even though we are old.
This is the Zoomer Nation.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, here's Fred signing off.
Yeah, and if I just take the opportunity to real quick to say that I had a blast doing this podcast. I hope you all enjoyed as well. And hope to catch you on the next one. Take care, folks.